Hello students, this is your economics teacher Ayanar. I hope you are well and utilizing the time wisely.
In the previous class, you learned about Indian economy and its futures, strength of Indian economy and demographic trends in India. Today, you are going to learn about contribution of Indian economic thinker such as Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, B.R. Ambedkar, J.C. Kumarapa, V.K.R.V. Rao and Amartya Kumar Sen. Students, watch this video very carefully till the end. Fine, let us enter into the topics. First, we will discuss the contribution of Mahatma Gandhi's ideas for economics. Students, take the page number 155. Gandhian economics is based on ethical foundation. In 1921, Gandhi wrote, "Economics that hurts the moral well-being of an individual or a nation is immoral and therefore sinful." Again in 1924, he repeated the same belief that economy is untrue which ignores or disregards moral values. Salient features of Gandhian economic thought. First, village republic. To Gandhi, India lives in village. He was interested in developing the villages as self-sufficient units. He opposed extensive use of machinery, urbanization and industrialization. Second, on machinery. Gandhi described machinery as great sin. He said that books would be written to demonstrate its evils. It is necessary to realize that machinery is bad. Instead of welcoming machinery as a boon, we should look upon it as even evil. It would ultimately chase. Industrialization. Gandhi considered industrialization as a curse on mankind. He thought industrialization depends entirely on a country's capacity to exploit. Decentralization. He advocated a decentralized economy, that is, production at a large number of places on a small scale or production in the people's home. Fifth, village Sarvodaya. According to Gandhi, real India was to be found in villages and not in towns or cities. So he suggested that development of self-sufficient, self-dependent villages. Sixth, bread laborers. Gandhi realized the dignity of human labor. He believed that God created man to eat his bread by the sweat of his brow. Bread labor or body labor was the expression that Gandhi used to mean manual labor. Seventh, the doctrine of trusteeship. Trusteeship provides a means of transforming the present capitalist order of society into an egalitarian one. It gives no quarter to capitalism. However, now India experiences both casino capitalism and crony capitalism. Eighth, on the food problem. Gandhi was against any sort of food controls. He thought such controls only created artificial scarcity. Once India was begging for food grains, but India tops the world with a very large production of food grains, fruits, vegetables, milk, egg, meat, etc. Ninth, on population. Gandhi opposed the method of population control through contraceptives. He was, however, in favor of birth control through brahmacharya or self-control. He considered self-control as a sovereign remedy to the problem of overpopulation. 10th, on prohibition. Gandhi advocated 10% prohibition. He regarded the use of liquor as a disease rather than a vice. He felt that it was better for India to be poor than to have thousands of drunkards, but now many states depends on revenue from liquor sale. Next, Jawaharlal Nehru. Jawaharlal Nehru, one of the chief builder of modern India, was the first Prime Minister of independent India, and he was there is in that post till his death in 1964. He was a great patriot, thinker and statesman. His views on economics and social problems are found in the innumerable speeches he made and in the books he wrote. First, democracy and secularism. Jawaharlal Nehru was a firm believer in democracy. He believed in free speech, civil liberty, adult franchise and the rule of law and parliamentary democracy. Secularism is another signal contribution of Nehru to India. In our country, there are many religions: Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Jainism, Zoroastrianism, Sikhism and so on. But there is no domination by religious majority. Secularism means equal respect for all religions. Next, planning. Jawaharlal Nehru was responsible for the introductions of planning in our country. To Jawaharlal Nehru, the plan was essentially as integrated approach for development. Initiating the debate on the second plan in the Lok Sabha in May 1956, Nehru spoke on the theme of planning. He said the essence of planning is to find the best way to utilize all resources of manpower, of money and so on. Planning for Nehru was essentially linked up with industrialization and eventual self-reliance for the country's economic growth on a self-accelerating growth. Nehru carried through this basic strategy of planned development. Nehru's contribution to the advancement of science, research, technology and industrial development cannot be forgotten. It was during this period research institutions were established. He always insisted on scientific temper. Next, democratic socialism. Socialism is another contribution of Nehru to India. He put the country on the road towards a socialistic pattern of society. But Nehru's socialism is democratic socialism. Next, we will discuss B.R. Ambedkar contribution of economic ideas. B.R. Ambedkar, 1891 up to 1956, was a versatile personality. He was the architect of the Indian Constitution, a custodian of social justice and a champion of socialism and state plannings. Ambedkar's writings includes Ancient Indian Commerce, National Dividend of India, a historical and analytical study. His thesis was published as The Evolution of Provincial Finance in British India, a study of provincial decentralizations of imperial finance. Ambedkar thesis on provincial decentralizations of empirical finance in Birth India was accepted for the MSc degree in 1921, and his thesis, The Problem of the Rupee, was accepted for the award of the D.Sc degree by the London School of Economics in 1923. It is a miracle that RBI was conceptualized as per the guidelines presented by Ambedkar in his book, The Problem of the Rupee, its origin and its solution. The main economic ideas of Ambedkar may be studied under four broad headings. First, financial economics. Much of the work done by Ambedkar during his stay abroad, mostly during the period 1913 up to 1923, was in the field of finance economics. Ambedkar divided the evolutions of provincial finance into three stages. First, budget by assignment 1871 up to 72. Second, budget by assigned revenue 1877 up to 78 to 1881 up to 82. And the third, budget by shared revenues 1882 up to 83 to 1920 up to 1921. Second, agricultural economics. In 1918, Ambedkar published a paper, Small Holding in India and Their Remedies. Citing Adam Smith's wealth definition of economics, he made a fine distinction between consolidations of holding and enlargement of holdings. Third, economics of caste. Ambedkar believed that the caste was an obstacle to social mobility. It resulted in social stratification. He was of the firm view that individuals must be free to change their occupation. Moreover, the caste system caused social tension. The caste system has resulted in the absence of social democracy in India as distinct from political democracy. Fourth, economics and socialism. Ambedkar was a socialist. He was a champion of state socialism. He advocated the nationalizations of all key industries and suggested state ownership of land and collective farming. He was for state monopoly of insurance business. Not only that, he advocated compulsory insurance for every citizen. Next, we will discuss J.C. Kumarapa economic contribution. Joseph Selladurai Kumarapa was born on 4th January 1892 in Tanjavur, Tamil Nadu, a pioneer of rural economic development theories. Kumarapa is created for developing economic theories based on Gandhism, a school of economic thought. He coined Gandhian economics. Gandhian economics. J.C. Kumarapa strongly supported Gandhi's notions of village industries and promoted village industries association. Kumarapa worked to combine Christian and Gandhian values of trusteeship, non-violence and a focus on human dignity and development in place of materialism as the base of his economic theories. While rejecting socialism, emphasis on class war and force in implementation, he also rejected the emphasis on material development, competition and efficiency in free market economics. Gandhi and Kumarapa envisions an economy focused on satisfying human needs and challenges while rooting out socio-economic conflicts, unemployment, poverty and deprivation. Kumarapa worked as a professor of economics at the Gujarat Vidyabit in Ahmedabad while serving as the editor of Young India during the Salt Satyagraha. He founded the All India Village Industries Association in 1935 and was imprisoned for more than a year during the Quit India movement. He wrote during his imprisonment Economy of Performance, The Practice and Percept of Jesus 1945 and Christianity, Its Economy and Way of Life 1945. Several of Gandhian followers developed a theory of environmentalism. Kumarapa took the lead in a number of relevant books in the 1930s and 1940s. Historian Ramachandra Uga calls Kumarapa the Green Gandhian, portraying him as the founder of modern environmentalism in India. Kumarapa worked for the Planning Commission of India under the Indian National Congress to develop national policies for agriculture and rural development. He also travelled to China, Eastern Europe and Japan on diplomatic assignments and to study their rural economic system. Next, V.K.R.V. Rao. According to P.R. Brahmananda, the great trinity of pre-independence and post-independent Indian economics consists of D.R. Godgil, C.N. Vagil and V.K.R.V. Rao. These scholars were imbibed a missionary zeal and analyzed the Indian economic problems with a view to designing and propagating economic policies or programs and plans to India's national advantages. V.K.R.V. Rao was a prolific writer. V.K.R.V. Rao was deeply interested in three large themes. They were first, national income; second, food, nutrition and the distribution of goods; and third, employment and occupational distribution. First, national income methodology. As an applied economist, Raw's name is remembered for his pioneering works on the enumeration of national income of India. Raw was a student of J.M. Keynes and he worked with Colin Clark. H.W. Singer contributed V.K.R.V. Rao, the best equipped of all Keynes students. He attempted first to develop the national income concept suited to India and developing countries generally. Second, to analyze the concept of investment, savings and the multipliers is an underdeveloped economy. And third, to study the compatibility of the national income of industrialized and underdeveloped countries. Raw's papers on full employment and economic development was one of the earliest contribution in the field of development towards employment. Second, international food aid. Raw was influential is creating ideas and shaping policy in international attack on world poverty, not only through his contribution to the questions of international aid and improved flows of external resources, but also through his activities in the field of food aid. Third, support for socialism. During the early pause of planning in India, Raw supported the case of a socialist India, where the state would control the commanding heights of the economy and the public sector would play a dominant role in economic development. Fourth, Raw's views on industrialization. In his pamphlet, What is Wrong with Indian Economic Life, 1938, Raw gave the following reason for low per capita income and low level of per capita nutrition in India. First, uneconomic holdings with subdivision and fragmentation. Second, low levels of water availability for crops. Third, excess population pressure on agriculture due to the absence of large industrial sector. Fourth, absence of capital. Fifth, absence of autonomy in currency policy and in general in monetary matters, encouraging holding of gold. Fifth, village cluster. Raw felt that rural communities had to be given a viable base. Therefore, he suggested that a cluster of village should form a unit for rural development so that both social and economic interaction between villages and develop and they would effectively generate and fashions their own development with a more meaningful participation by people. Sixth, investment, income and multiplier. Ross' examination of the interrelation between investment, income and multiplier in an underdeveloped economy 1952 was his major contribution to macroeconomic theory. As a thinker, teacher, economic advisor and direct policy maker, V.K.R.V. Rao followed the footsteps of his great teacher John Maynard Keynes. Seventh, institution builder. He founded three national level research institutes, namely Delhi School of Economics, Institute of Economic Growth, both at Delhi, and Institute for Social and Economic Changes, Bangalore. Last, we will discuss the contributions of Amartya Kumar Sen ideas for economics. The noble citations refers to Sen's contribution to social choice theory, development economics, study on poverty and famine and concept of entitlements and capability development 1998. First, poverty and famine. Sen's Poverty and Famine, an essay on entitlement and deprivation in 1981, is both a theoretical and an applied work. In the book, several famines have been studied in the working of a general theoretical framework from an original angle. He examined various meaning of poverty and drew attention to the incidence of absolute and relative deprivation. Second, poverty and inequality. Sen has carried out massive work on poverty and inequality in India. Sen's major point has been that the distributions of income, consumption among the persons below the poverty line is to be taken into account. Third, the concept of capability. The concept of capabilities developed by Sen has been cited as a better index of well-being than commodities or utilities. Capability as defined by Sen is the ability to transform Rawlsian primary goods to the achievements of well-being. Fourth, entitlement. Sen has included the concept of entitlement items like nutrition, food, medical and health care, employment, security of food supply in times of famine, etc. He considered famine as arising out of the failure of establishing a system of entitlements. Last, choice of techniques. Sen's choice of techniques was a research work where he argued that in a labor surplus economy, generation of employment cannot be increased at the initial stage by the adoptions of capital intensive techniques. That's all for today. We will continue in the next class. Finish the assignment by clicking the link below.
Yeah.